Welcome to Parsha Noach Aliyah 4. It's great to see you coming back to learn more about what exactly was happening with the ark and the whole flood. Hopefully, you've been learning quite a bit to enhance your knowledge of the book of Genesis. In this Aliyah, God commands Noah to leave, to get out of the ark. He builds an altar, he makes some sacrifices. God also promises to bring the rainbow, that he'll never flood the earth again. And God blesses Noah and his sons, and he tells them to be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. God also allows Noah to eat meat. He prohibits murder, suicide, and the consumption of a limb ripped from a living animal. Ancient people did not have calendars. They could tell the changes in the season based on weather. Farmers and shepherds knew the exact day, the beginning of the season, well, through their experience. So knowledge of time was based around when they thought these seasons were happening. Early humans, well, they lived on vegetables and fruits that grew around them. There were numerous varieties of vegetables and fruit trees that grew in the north of Iraq today. And it's for this reason Genesis actually calls that region a Garden of Eden, which means a delightful garden. Ancient Hebrew people believed that the living spirit of the person or the animal was in the blood. They didn't understand how blood and organs worked. Therefore, if one bled out, they died. To these people, that meant the spirit must have been in the blood. The blood of an animal sacrifice was used on the altar because a sinner would then be cleansed by transferring his or her sins to the animal. The animal was killed by its blood being drained. And that blood was passed on to an altar as a living sacrifice for the atonement of sin. So God tells Noah, get out of the ark, take your family, yourself, the animals, get out. It's time to restart humanity, to repopulate the world. Noah makes a pretty good sacrifice, a large sacrifice to God. And it's because he wanted to atone for his improper thoughts that he entertained while he was in the ark. This atonement was also for the failure to pray on behalf of the people of the generation prior to the flood. He did not convince anyone they needed to stop sinning and return to prayer of the Lord. Now in chapter 8, verse 21, the Torah says that the smell of the sacrifice was pleasing to the Lord. The Torah wants the reader to distinguish between the offering and the person who brings the offering. Abel was deemed worthy of the Lord, or by the Lord, of his benevolent action. And he brought this wonderful sacrifice, which was accepted. Noah was welcomed by the Lord only on the account of his offering. That's what it's implying. Good question is, why did the Lord allow Noah now to eat meat and fish? Well, humanity lived longer spans of life in Genesis 6. The body did not need to be recharged physically with the consumption of meat. When the Lord lowered the number of years that a human could live, they needed to keep their bodies healthier for a shorter period of time. Therefore, humans needed meat in their diet. This can also be viewed as a reward for Noah and his family because they exercised self-control by not becoming animal-like when compared to the humans that lived in their generation. They acquired the rights to become superior to the animals and move to the top of the food chain. Some spiritual awareness. The concept of family is offered in chapter 8, verse 19. This would also imply that animals reproduced. It applies to Noah's children. The concept of the nuclear family was and is important to the condition of human beings. A large problem today is that so many families are broken families. Various times children come from broken homes and have mental illnesses. The Lord expects when a man and a woman are married that they would stay together for their entire lives. I know that's not what society believes anymore, at least big parts of it. The idea of building an altar to the Lord and offering a sacrifice today can be done. The author finds an altar and offering to the Lord by spending his time, that's my time, doing this research and preparing this material for you to read. That's how I make my sacrifice and my offering. You can build your own altar by reading and pondering these materials. Monetary or property being given to a synagogue or a church can also be considered altar building. However, the Zohar says that the best way to make an offering to the Lord is to study the Torah. And there is always so much more to learn. I encourage you to get the book for this Aliyah, and better for all of them. There's more spiritual awareness information that I have placed inside the book. There are some interesting midrash stories, and when the Lord permitted Noah to kill animals, he also put the following things in place. Someone who commits suicide will be held responsible for their own blood. If someone commits murder deliberately and there are no witnesses, the Lord shall avenge the victim's blood. If someone kills another by accident and treats the matter lightly because there were no witnesses, and the murderer therefore cannot be sent into an exile, the Lord will punish that person. Someone who murders another in the presence of witnesses is liable to equal punishment or equity punishment, whichever word you think better applies. I included a legend about leaving the ark. Talmud entries are in here. And there's some information, of course, about the Zohar and how it fits into the mysticism. Let me leave you with some modern hermeneutics. The flood is over. It's time to leave the ark. Noah knew he had to wait for the Lord to tell him to open the door and let everything out. People often say they have to wait for the Lord to give them a sign before they do something. The problem is, what will that sign be? How does one recognize a sign from the Lord? The Lord gives us intelligence to make our own decisions. The answer may be in your mind already. Richard Foster wrote a wonderful book I recommend on prayer, and states that the Lord is spiritual and he will not answer materialistic prayers. So praying for a job or a car or for money, it's not going to happen. Praying for a spiritual act, well, that's correct. So praying for the things that are not spiritual, not going to probably happen. Coincidence might, but you see, if you're praying about something material, you're actually using your own thoughts and ingenuity to make it happen. Foster says we cannot change the Lord. However, prayer changes us. It makes you aware of what you want to do and whether it's the right thing to do. The next time you have a big decision, view it from all the angles. Pray to the Lord to help you find the angles and the possibilities. Pray that you can spiritually become aware of what the best thing is to do and make your decision. Well, God bless you for listening to this video. I hope it blesses you in some way, shape, or form. And as always, you know the answer to that one. As always, it's shalom.